Alright everyone, welcome back to A Year in the TikTok. Today we are starting Splotchmaker. And I've already kind of predetermined where our starting point is. Splotchmaker is going to be an interesting one, because they talk a lot about fat acceptance, but then they'll take a break from fat acceptance for a while and talk about something else, but they're always in this weird state of, like, I'm superior and I know so much more. And I think part of that is, and actually, I'm going to head back up. So we see that they're 24, leftist, vegan, queer, fat liberation, and then grad student. They made sure to put grad student in their bio. And I don't think that that's, like, inherently wrong. It's just, and it's not even a matter of wrong or right. It's just, it reminds me of Fat Sapphic Bro a little bit, where I feel like Splotchmaker, and I don't feel this way simply because they put grad student in their bio, but I've noticed some things where they think that they are so much more educated than other people that they tend to be condescending. And I've noticed this with a lot of FAs. I don't know what, I find it very interesting that they get so upset over the skinnies and they act like they have no control over their body at all. But then education, which there are legitimately many people that simply don't have the access or the opportunity to get the education, and yet they act superior for having gotten that education. Splotchmaker does this. I don't know if it's on the fat acceptance stuff we'll be looking at, but there have been other ones where they just act superior, and it pisses me off. But anyway, let's go ahead. And I believe we start here.
That's the difference between me and you. Because while you were sitting around, waiting, doing niche, I was out, making moves.
And sorry, this is I'm not going to stop for every example, but my whole family having a game night while I'm at home finishing my graduate school application. And it's positioned as a way of, you're wasting your time while I'm doing stuff that's going to help my future. And I'm like, let's not fucking demonize taking a break and having a family fucking game night. I mean, I know that Splotchmaker has issues with their family, and that's probably a portion of why this is going on, but taking time out to go through the graduate school application process at the cost of like spending time with your family or something is not necessarily something noble. Like, I've applied to a couple of graduate school places before. Like, I applied for a place for my MLIS, which I didn't end up finishing, and then of course my master's in education that I have now. And I mean, it can be a little time intensive, but it generally shouldn't take more than an hour or two. So, and I mean, granted, I only did one, so if you're doing multiple, then yeah, it's gonna take you a while. Big pain in the ass, though, is those letters of recommendation. That's such a bitch! It's such a fucking bitch! Oh my god. But, getting back to my point, this whole thing of how, like, they're superior because they're spending time applying to graduate schools while their family's having a game night, and there's this whole thing of, like, that's a difference between me and you. It's just, this is emblematic of a lot of the FA mentalities, those that are in graduate school or those that have a master's degree, is that they think that it makes them better than other people, and that's what pisses me off. There's plenty of intelligent people that don't have a master's degree, and there's plenty of idiots that do. A master's degree is a signifier and does suggest a level of preparation in a particular field, more so than other people, which would put you above those in that same applicant pool, but it is not in and of itself a reason to feel superior to others. And I think I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video, I'm still having a little bit of congestion and cough left over from COVID, so if my voice sounds a little weird, that's why.
So I have a degree in public health, but I also am a nationally ranked strong woman who is considered morbidly obese because of my weight and my size. not independent of my strength, right? I think it's important that we note which weight category actually does have the highest risk for mortality, and that is the underweight category. So studies over the past 20 years have shown that folks who are in the overweight category and the first two categories of obesity, so that's 1 and 2, tend to live longer than folks that are in the normal weight category. Even morbidly obese folks who follow the 4 principles that I told you about before tend to have relatively long lifespans. The riskiest category to be in by far, by a multiplier, by an exponent, is the underweight category, because your body is struggling for nutrients and you are not able to process the nutrition that you need in order to survive. So if we're going to have discussions about weight and health, it really needs to be focused on underweight population.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I swear, it feels like they are purposely not getting the point when people say we need to worry about people that are overweight and obese. It's because there is a significantly larger number of people in those categories than in the underweight category. Everyone knows that there's an issue with the people in the underweight category. For fuck's sake, when I was a teenager, the big warning signs that I saw plastered over everything and were in my little, American Girl's Guide to Puberty were talks on restrictive eating disorders. Primarily anorexia, but there was, a brief look at bulimia. And there was no talk of just, binge eating disorder or anything during that time. Everyone knows underweight is not ideal. Underweight has dangers associated with it, especially those that are severely underweight. Everyone fucking knows that. No one's arguing that being underweight is better than being overweight. The issue is that there is a significantly higher number of people in the overweight and obese categories and morbidly obese categories than there are that are underweight. If you were to combine those three compared to the underweight, it is exponentially more in those 3 categories than in the underweight. So no, we don't need to just talk about the underweight category. And this whole thing with people in the overweight and the first 2 classes of obesity tend to live longer. I wish they had cited the study for that, because I'm curious how that was determined. Was this an observational study? I would think it had to be an observational study, which isn't necessarily wrong, but if it was only done once and it's the only study that they have available, then chances are there's some missing information here. And I'd also like to know how old that study is. Not because, if it's, 20 years old that it's automatically wrong, but if it's 20 years old and then someone probably saw that and did a follow-up on it. Also, was that study peer-reviewed? That's a big one. Was it peer-reviewed? So there's so many issues with the way this TikTok is outlining things that, underweight's the most dangerous. Therefore, that is the only class we should pay attention to, even though there are significantly more people in the overweight, obese, and morbidly obese categories. It's just fucking dumb, and it feels purposefully like they are ignoring what their detractors are actually saying.
So Hassan Piker made a video about me, basically just dunking on my fat politics. On his stream, he reacted to a bunch of my TikToks, basically saying I was body shaming thin people and I'm an awful person. And by being so awful, I'm making it easier to be fatphobic and dunk on fat people. He then goes on to say, don't bully fat people. Don't shame us. Because if you do, that'll create shame. And that'll lead us to binge eat. His idea of the harm fat shaming and fat phobia has is personal. Not that it'll aid in our societal discrimination and oppression in medical systems, but it'll make the problem worse. We'll get fatter. I've seen this kind of rhetoric a lot in leftist spaces. This idea that fat liberation is rad lib. In reality, to be leftist is to be anti-capitalist. And diet culture and the obesity epidemic are created by capitalism. Fat liberation is a leftist issue.
Okay, No, it isn't. Number one, it's if you want to talk about being anti-capitalist, then if anything, being against obesity, because obesity is a marker of excessive consumption, especially from the multi-million dollar fast food industry, multi-billion dollar, I think, fast food industry, as well as the engineering of our food to be hyper palatable, and a couple other things that are escaping me at the moment. I never saw Hassan's stream. I'm actually curious to look it up now, but this was from January 23rd, 2022, so I don't know. Hassan, I think, streams fairly regularly, so me being able to find those clips is probably going to be pretty difficult. I'd be willing to do a one-off video on it if you guys are interested. Just let me know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. I think that it's worth taking a look at some of the video clips related to this, like Lexi Nemo, when we get to her, actually appeared on Dr. Phil, and if I can find the Dr. Phil clips with her in them, I would love to do a reaction to those. Fat acceptance is not a leftist issue. I love how you bring in diet culture and the money that's made from the diet industry, and yet you blatantly ignore fast food industry, you blatantly ignore the marketing of medication on TV to people it will most likely affect, which is obese people, because a lot of times it's for things like high blood pressure and diabetes. But no, it's diet culture that's the big issue. Are you fucking kidding me?
The body positivity movement was created by and for fat people. So when I make videos about...
It actually was not. We've been able to look through oh god, which video was it? I think it was Feminist Land Whale? Was it Feminist Land Whale that we looked it up? But one of them we looked it up, and body positivity wasn't created for fat people. It was created as an acceptance of all body types, regardless of race, age, ability, etc. And I think fat was in there, but it wasn't like specifically just for fat people. It was about accepting your body the way it is. The body positivity movement as itself was focused on body acceptance regardless of shape, size, color, etc.
thin people centering themselves in our movement. When I make videos about the racist origins of fat phobia, about the lived experiences of fat people.
Okay, the racist origins of fat phobia was, I know that she's referring to fearing the black body, which I looked into the introduction of, and it wasn't particularly, it was just kind of a timeline that made a lot of assumptions and only went back as far as like the Victorian era. No, it actually went a little bit further back than the Victorian era, but not much further back. Like, it doesn't go all the way back to ancient Greece or anything like that. It was a very limited scope to look at, and Sam at Every Size, who has a history degree and is better at evaluating these sources than I am in terms of historical legitimacy, has done an entire series on this, pointing out the flaws in the research that's done in fearing the black body and the misrepresentation of the articles. So I highly recommend checking out Sam at Every Size's Fearing the Black Body video series. I need to catch up on it. I only watched the first 2 or 3. But that will give you a better insight into the fearing the black body and fat phobias rooted in racism bullshit that these people spew.
That keep us from life-saving medical care, that give us subpar medical treatment, inaccessible public spaces. That is not rad lib. That is not cringe. You may not like how I go about it, but that's not only what you're talking about. You're also dunking on the ideas and being fatphobic. If you are anti-capitalist, if you are leftist, and most importantly, if you're not fatphobic, as I assume you would say about yourself, why is your energy being used to discredit the movement further and the people like me who are involved in it, instead of educating about anti-fatness and fat phobia? and the implications of all of those things. Now, I have some...
The reason why people like Hassan Piker, myself, and all the other anti-FA people talk about your movement and work on discrediting it is because it is worth discrediting. Because all you guys do is put forth false narratives, bad research, false conclusions, and you wrap it up in this social movement that you don't fucking deserve, quite frankly. Like, so I know that that's a bit of a harsh take, but that's how I feel about it. I think the fact that you guys use language from the LGBT community, from people that are working to make things more accessible for disabled people, for any of those movements, and you commandeer the language for it to add legitimacy to your movement, because your big gripes, if we put aside the occasional nod to medical fat phobia that you guys talk about, which has roots in legitimacy even though they're taken to the nth degree, there's a kernel there that we might have been able to work with. But a large portion of what you guys talk about is not having access to cute clothes, which is fucking ridiculous when you're talking about oppression. Like, that's your idea of oppression? That's your idea of oppression? Not being able to get cute clothes? Not just not being able to find clothes, but not being able to find cute clothes. It's fucking bullshit. It shows that you are spoiled babies, and you guys are just throwing tantrums. The one that's most obvious is Marissa, but those that are a little bit more educated are still throwing tantrums. They're just throwing it with dressier language. And you are not oppressed. You are not oppressed.
Books I'm going to share with you so you can be more informed when you speak on fat phobia next time. The first book is Health at Every Size. The second book is Fearing the Black
Fucking called it. Watch Sam at Every Size's video series, please.
Body. The third book is The Body is Not an Apology.
So we read the first chapter of that. I believe that's one where it was a broader look, and there was some looks at interaction of not only fat people but like disabled people within common social experiences that have to make exceptional accommodations because they feel they have to accommodate for like their disability. It also included some fat acceptance stuff in there. I don't know, I think this one blends them really well in that it makes it hard to separate ableism from fat phobia in how it's presented. And I think that's why Splotchmaker recommends it, quite frankly, because it adds a level of legitimacy that the fat acceptance movement doesn't deserve because it blends in ableism with it. Kind of like, there was another one that was more of a personal narrative. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was one of the ones that we read the first chapters of. And it was really blending like their experience as a fat kid with their experience as a black child. And the way it was told, those two were like inseparable. Like, you couldn't separate and comment on the perception of the fat kid from the perception of them as a black child. And I just kind of noped out of that one because I'm like, I'm not comfortable talking about race, and there was no way to separate the fat experience from the black experience in that particular book.
Fourth book is The Fuck It Diet. Fifth book is Fattily Ever After.
That was it. I think that one was it. Fattily Ever After. Interesting that they've chosen two of the books that really weave in fat acceptance with other social movements. Interesting.
After, and What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat.
Now, this one was interesting. Actually, I think this one has... Was this one of the ones that had a Hulu series? One of them was, like, the groundwork for Dietland. But, if memory serves, What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat... I can't remember the details of this one, but I remember that it was, like, at least an interesting look. But, yeah, we're
then get back to me.
She's so fucking condescending.
How can you be so loud, yet so wrong? How can you be so...
So the little caption comment thing says, obesity is a choice, not a health issue. Obesity causes those health issues. Instead of teaching about fat phobia, teach about health and wellness. Now, I agree with this primarily. I do think that obesity is a choice. It's a choice that you don't necessarily consciously make. Like, I'm going to be obese. I don't think... most people don't make that decision. But obesity is the result of a culmination of choices that you make involving your diet and exercise. That being said, I do think that obesity is a health issue. I just think that it's a health issue that can be managed by making better choices. And I think that it can cause a lot of other health issues, kind of like what they've said.
Let's talk about body preferences. I've heard a lot of talk like, oh, I don't hate fat people, but I'm not attracted to them, and I don't want to date them. It's just my preference. Maybe, in an ideal circumstance, in a world that was forever body neutral and did not demonize fat people, that could be a preference. Maybe. But is there really such a thing as preference in a society that exclusively demonizes an option?
Wait, exclusively? Does she not listen to what she's saying? In a society that exclusively demonizes an option. In this case, referring to fatness. She acts as though being fat is the only thing society demonizes at all. And I wouldn't even say society necessarily demonizes it. Because if society demonized it to the extent that FA say that they did, everyone would be losing weight at a higher rate. But we're not. Because there is that culture of, you had a rough week, you deserve a treat. Ooh, let's have a celebration, time for, high calorie alcohol, and let's have some cake, and let's eat a lot, and the concept of food babies, and the whole 9 yards with eating until you're really full. I mean, for fuck's sake, we have Thanksgiving, which, it's not that Thanksgiving in itself is an issue. I want to be clear about that. I'm just saying it lends to the cultural idea of overconsumption, not, at the very least, not being a bad thing in any form. That's why there's people with shopping addictions. That's why this overconsumption is a serious American issue. I can't say for other countries, but I can say for the US, it is an ongoing issue. Overconsumption is a regular issue. They do not exclusively, meaning only, demonize fat people, and I quite frankly would say that society doesn't even demonize fat people. Perhaps there is I would say, no, I wouldn't say demonize, but I would say that our society can be a little bit exploitative of the morbidly obese. We see this with My 600-Pound Life and Too Heavy and those different TLC weight shows. It can be a bit exploitative in how we look at it because it has become a product. Morbid obesity has become a form of entertainment for the onlookers. That can be something that we can talk about as to how harmful that is. Because it is kind of especially with when My 600-Pound Life was in its prime, it really was like a circus sideshow. One that I actively engaged into, and I still enjoy watching My 600-Pound Life. I find it to be a good motivator. But I could see how the argument could be made that it is exploitative of fat people, of the morbidly obese, that need help, need nutritional help, need weight loss help. And in order to get that, it's kind of an indictment also of the American healthcare system, where in order to get those services, they kind of have to be a sideshow freak. That is a whole conversation that I think would be legitimate to have. That being said, I still wouldn't say that they are demonized, except the ones that, there are a couple that probably were demonized, but not because of their weight, but because of how they behaved.
People are branded as disgusting, branded as something to be eliminated, unhygienic, lazy, XYZ everything else. And we've received that messaging since we were born. Our culture is deeply rooted and entrenched in fat phobia. Chances are it's not just a preference, and you've just been taught to think fat people are gross.
I'm sorry. Okay. Let's get down to brass tacks. Okay? Let's be frank. All right? Morbidly obese people can develop a smell. People can smell a fat person sometimes. And there's a lot of, I've come across many morbidly obese people that aren't like bedbound morbidly obese, but still morbidly obese, that will walk around with their stomachs hanging out, which I find gross, personally. There was even one that was when I was a teenager, and I remember it because it was a big, like, laughing fit in the car at the time, but I was with my mom and sister. We were going to the mall, and this morbidly obese guy was, like, trying to get in between the cars to get in his car before I opened my door, and his ass crack was right against my fucking window. I remember that so much. I didn't want to touch the door handle when I got back in, not because he was fat, but because his bare ass had been near my window and against the door. So that has definitely colored my perception of the morbidly obese. I'm not gonna lie, it has. I've also seen a good number of fat people that will walk around in, like, stained shirts. And when you see them eating enough for a family of 4, you do judge a little bit. So let's not pretend that all perceptions of fat people is just because society wants to demonize them. Alright? We have our own eyes. We have our own noses. We can hear their heavy breathing. We know that we don't necessarily want to look like that. We don't want to end up like that. That doesn't make it demonizing fat people. It means that we can judge for ourselves that that's not something we want for ourselves. And I'm going to end it here because this is just meant to be a short video. We're going to do this one, and then I'm going to do record another one right after this. Quick note, I have another story for you guys from the sub jobs that I had right before break. I did sub in a 5th grade class, which was really interesting. And there's no, like, current social studies curriculum for K-5 in my district. And so one of the teachers is using a social studies textbook from 1982 to teach the kids. It was a little painful when I had to cover social studies with them, because I wouldn't want to learn from that. A lot of the information is outdated, at least with some of the verbiage and stuff. I did not care for that. That being said, I also struggled so much with 5th grade math, teaching them it's like, how do we divide mixed number fractions? I don't fucking remember. I hated fractions. And unfortunately, everything was under the teacher's account, which had been logged out, and I didn't have access to it. Because they had pulled me when I came in for my regular shift as a teaching assistant. So I had, like, no real time to prepare. And it was just interesting. Overall was really interesting. I felt like I got a better feel for the age group, and I definitely am hoping that I can get a 5th grade teaching position next year, when I can plan and reteach myself how to do dividing mixed number fractions, so I can teach them properly. But what was really interesting was at the end of the day, I asked the kids for their opinion. I'm like, I'm looking to be a classroom teacher next year, and I want to know what your opinions were. And I was expecting them to say, you stumble a lot when you talk, or we could do more fun things. I was expecting complaints primarily of how I handled things, which was kind of my goal because I wanted to evaluate from their perspective how I was as a teacher and make some considerations for how to adjust it next time I subbed or in my classroom next year. But the overarching complaint that I got was that I was too nice. They're like, you didn't get angry at us enough. And I'm like, well, what? I thought it was interesting. And they're like, you let us talk over you, which was a reasonable criticism because I'm not very good at waiting for the entire class to be silent before I continue talking. I'll just raise my voice and try to make it clear that I'm the one that's talking, and it doesn't always work. So that's something I need to work on, my patience, and work on making sure the entire class is silent before I move on to teaching a subject. But it was not the criticism that I was expecting. So with that, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.